Welcome to this video on the Kofax Intelligent Automation platform. My name is Jesper Scherpenhuizen, and in this video I want to show you how you can use Kofax RPA to automate Kofax Communications Manager and SignDoc workflows. But before we do that and really dive into all the things that are possible, let's talk about the out-of-the-box integration capabilities between KCM and SignDoc. So KCM is of course capable of generating all kinds of communication, whether it's a document, a PDF file, a Word document, email, SMS text messages, WhatsApp, you name it. It's also capable to then deliver those through the channel of choice to the actual stakeholder internally or externally. And in today's case, we want to talk about the capability to generate documents that already contain signature fields, as you can see right here. So in today's scenario, what we're going to be talking about, AdventureWorks and Contoso. So we have AdventureWorks, which is an auditor and a certifier, and Contoso being their customer. So in this case, we have AdventureWorks auditing Contoso and then have a certificate of compliance being signed by two representatives of Contoso and one from AdventureWorks being Jane. And that needs to happen in a very specific manner. So the out-of-the-box integration depends on those signature fields, and those signature fields contain all of the information that SignDoc needs to start a signing ceremony. So it contains the signer's name, email address for the actual invite that they need to receive, and the role, and some other data points as well. And that's been done by the KCM template scripting function insert signature. And that can of course then leverage all data that you might have within your organization that KCM can then of course leverage as well. And once you've generated documents and maybe even a full document pack containing one or more documents with these signature fields in there, you can leverage the standard function or the standard method document pack sign on the Kofax Communication Manager's contract manager. So the process would then look something like this. KCM generates a document. That document is then submitted to SignDoc. SignDoc starts the signing ceremony, but that signing ceremony is a so-called parallel signing ceremony. So the signers can sign this document in any order they want, but still it'll result in a signed PDF, which would be compliant per the European eIDAS legislation or the US e-signing act, and also its international equivalents, of course. But what would then happen if you have very specific requirements regarding the order in which these documents need to be signed? As AdventureWorks has, they want their representative, in this case Jane, to always be the last one to sign. Well, if you just want to do that with KCM and SignDoc, where you have KCM generate a document, send it to SignDoc, and then SignDoc having a serial signing ceremony where they know, we first need to have Laura, the Contoso CEO, sign off first. Then we need to have Philip, the CFO, sign off, and then finally Jane from AdventureWorks themselves. Before we get to that point, that would need, quite a significant piece of customization and configuration on the KCM delivery scripts. Another option is, of course, to have Kofax Total Agility in place to orchestrate this end-to-end process, but then still you would need to build an additional piece of configuration and customization to have Total Agility orchestrate SignDoc there as well. So in a previous video, which was unfortunately in Dutch, and I apologize for that, we talked about, but how can we then achieve this with the least amount of effort? If you guys want to see that video being redone in English or dubbed in English, or maybe subtitled in English, leave some comments below, and if enough people want that, I'll of course consider it. But what we did in that video is we said, well, we still have KCM generating those documents, but instead of KCM submitting them to SignDoc directly, what we've done is we said, well, we're just going to jot those documents in a folder. And then we have a small army of AdventureWorks employees monitoring that folder, grabbing them and submitting them by hand to SignDoc, and then making sure that the right signing ceremony configuration has been applied, ensuring that it's going to be Laura from Contoso first, Philip second, and then Jane third and last. Again, with that document being distributed to every stakeholder. So whenever I hear manual, repetitive, error-prone, mind-numbing, and a connection between two systems, there is only one solution that comes to mind, and that is, of course, RPA. So in this demo, I want to focus on how we can use Kofax RPA to do that. So still, the process will be exactly the same. KCM generates documents, puts those in a folder. We have Kofax RPA keeping one of its virtual eyes on that folder as well, essentially becoming a hot folder or a watched folder, whatever you want to call it. And then once it's found a document, submitting that by, well, robot hand to SignDoc, and then using its built-in intelligence to ensure that the signing ceremony would indeed be ordered, but also based on the requirements, having Jane at the very last step signing that document. So we would have someone from Contoso, another person from Contoso, and then finally Jane or someone else from AdventureWorks. So how did we then build something like that? Let me just switch to my machine, and here we have the Kofax RPA Design Studio, where I've built a robot that's capable of running fully in memory. So we don't need any sort of virtual machines or laptops or any sort of other thing than just a robo server running somewhere. First, we do some householding, so we grab the timestamp for now, so we can easily figure out when a robot was executed. We assign a username that we want to use, and we then also need to figure out what the password would be for that user, because a robot, just like a human being, needs to log in. And the robot is able to retrieve their credentials from this secure and encrypted password vault that's included with Kofax RPA. So we can go to repository, have a look at the password store, and there we have John's credentials for SignDoc stored. And we can only have, well, pre-approved robots use those credentials, of course. Otherwise, it would make sense. And then we're actually going to loop through this folder. So we have the watched folder right there, and I've created some test cases. So I'm just going to grab one of these. There you go. I thought I copied that. There you go. So we have one test case in for this robot, and we can then use that to show you what happens. So the first thing we need to do is we need to log in. Well, for those of you who've played around with RPA, you might say, well, why don't you log in before you start iterating through the cases? Well, we've seen that this is actually much quicker to do from a runtime perspective than to, well, put it there and then just go back all the way. So that's, again, one of those optimization things that we might need to consider when you're talking about RPA. So what we need to do is we need to open up a browser instance, again, happening in memory, and we need to log in with a username, in this case John, and a password. So we now have John and the password. We press enter, and we step out of this robot altogether. So we are now logged in. Then we actually create that package, but it's not just creating that package. We also need to submit that document and then wait for that document to be analyzed by SignDoc, and then change it to a ordered signing ceremony or a serial signing ceremony, whatever way you want it, and then to double check whether it's Jane signing at the very last step of this process, or if we need to change that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create that package. Here we go. And then we're going to upload that document. So we're just going to wait for the robot to catch up with us. So we now have a signing package, and we now need to click this block there. And once we've done that, we're going to be prompted to provide the location of the document we want to sign, which of course we got from the loop. And we press enter, and now we see SignDoc analyzing this document. And in this case, you already see that it's as expected. It's set for completing in any order, so in parallel. And we see that Jane is not the last one on this list, so we need to change both of those. So the first thing is, of course, we want to make sure that we are aware of where we started. So I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of this part there, and then we actually change that switch there to make sure that it's an ordered signing ceremony. And then we have some logic there to make sure that we move Jane all the way to the bottom. So we're going to do just that. We're going to loop through that. And this works independently, whether it's 3, 5, 6, or 19 signers. It has the logic in place to do that. So we then take another screenshot to show that we did it the right way. We click on the next page, and we're going to make some additional changes. So we're going to change the package name to, well, package created by KCM and delivered to SignDoc by Kofax RPA. And we're going to change the email subject. An email request was changed to your KCM generated e-sign request. And we're going to finish this off, and we immediately start to see the emails coming in. So the first one invited is Laura Wilson, the CEO of Contoso, and she can click that link in her email to start signing off on this document. So she agrees to using an electronic signature. This, well, consent text is of course something that you and your legal department will need to work on to make sure that it fits your legal framework, and we can help you with that, but typically it's the legal department that will take care of that. And then we have the document that was generated by KCM, then submitted by a robot, and we are now signing that with SignDoc. So let's click there. We have that signature. I'm just going to do it by hand, and just imagine me doing this on my iPad or my iPhone or any other mobile device. It's a beautiful experience to do that. And once I've signed as Laura, we're going to see that Philip will now be invited, and we already being informed as the administrator that the first signer has done that. So if I switch to Philip Fry's inbox, you'll see that Philip is now also being invited. So let's go to his part of the process. And we can of course then see that Laura already signed. So Philip can rest assured, well, my CEO signed, I could do the same thing. And he can do a similar signing, or he can do a click to sign, which I like to do. And we can save Philip's engagement there. And then last, and of course certainly not least, we can go to Jane's inbox, and once we have that, she will be the last one to sign, and she's going to be able to see both, well, Laura's and Philip's signatures there, so she can rest assured that she is okay to sign off on this. And because she's probably internal, it could be that she already uploaded her John Hancock, and she can just reuse that straight away. There we go. Finish off on it, and then of course all of the parties involved will get a confirmation email with the signed documents attached, fully compliant, whether it's EIDAS or the eSign Act. This is an out-of-the-box capability that we just love. So this is of course very nice. So we've seen how we did that from the design studio, but we can then also do that in a more automated fashion. So let me just clear this up and make sure that we have some breathing space there. And if we then open up the management console, we are then capable of actually creating a schedule for this to happen. We might want to double check the folder every minute, or we might just say, well, we want to do that every 5 minutes or every 60 seconds. So what I'll do is I'll need to double check the robots. So here we have the robots there as well, and I need to make sure that we have the right access for that password that we have. So I can edit the password access, and I can just give it access to the John at SignDoc credentials. There we go. I can then go to the schedules and say, well, I want that to be run every, well, let's change it to 2 minutes. So every 120 seconds. And I can, of course, then need to make it active as well. And I can just drop in some documents. So we now have that one there. And how about we just give it some more to do? There we go. Maybe 3 in total. And then in 2 minutes time, you'll see that schedule picking up these documents and removing them once they're done. And we can then, of course, also keep an eye on the screenshots that we're going to be taking. And you're going to be seeing them moving along one by one. And you can start to see the screenshots happening there as well. But again, we need to wait for 2 minutes. So there we saw the first document disappearing. So that will also mean that we already have screenshots of both steps along the way that we can review. So in this case, you'll see that we have the switch still at the on position, but Jane already at the bottom. So the only thing the robot had to do is just change it there. And then we also see a new one coming in, and that is this one. So here we see Jane all the way at the top, and then before we submitted it, it's been done all the way at the bottom. So this is a beautiful way where you can see how we can then work through that. And we can actually just wait for the last one to be processed as well. There you go. And then we can see what happened with that one. And that was the same one. So we would have Jane at the top. So what we've seen as part of this demo is you've seen how we could actually have a robot as an extension on top of the out-of-the-box integration between two capabilities within the Kofax Intelligent Automation platform. This is, of course, offering a lot of flexibility, something you might not have if you didn't have that platform capable of transforming digital workflows from start to finish. So that being said, we've seen a lot of nice, neat things. I'll put the robots on GitHub, and I'll put the link below. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me through email, through chat, to Twitter, you name it, or leave a comment here. And of course, if you like these videos, like and subscribe. And well, hope to see you for our next video. For now, I would say thanks a million, and we'll talk again soon. Cheers.